can I get a Corona? Sorry, we only carry Colorado beer. How about a PBR? Oh, that's Milwaukee, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a different state than Colorado. What can I get you? Drunk? Welcome to episode 46 of Behind Bars, Cocktails, and Wasted Nights. I'm your host, Greg. I've been working as a bartender for over 20 years, and over those years, I've seen a lot. My goal here is to share some of those high and low lights with you. Quick warning, this podcast contains sex, drugs, and some language that isn't suitable for anyone under 21 years of age, so you gotta have some ID. For the record, PBR is currently based in San Antonio, but still, anywho's. Before we get started, you'll need a drink. For this one, I recommend a simple two-toucher. Pour a nice champagne into a flute halfway. Never fill it. It gets warm before you finish it that way. Anyway, I like Clicquot. To that, add just under a quarter ounce of Saint Germain elderflower liqueur to make the taste of total success that much sweeter, because that's what this episode is all about. And as always, if you don't have any of that shit lying around, a healthy shot of tequila and a big sniff of magic dust is just what the doctor ordered you not to do. Okay, on with the story. It was 1997. I know, some of you weren't yet conceived, still living in your dad's two-bedroom apartment downtown. Or it could have been 98. I can't remember which. I could do 10 seconds of research, but if you've been listening in order, y'all know me by now. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I was working my dick off at the bar and going to school full time and interning twice a week. If you're curious about my grueling schedule, listen to episode 42, the night I got on the radio. It was bananas. I was still a lowly busboy, clearing the wealthy Long Island progeny's unfinished Jamaican jerk chicken terracottas and changing ashtrays. Yes, you could still smoke. And absolutely drooling over a server who was way out of my league. Mayana, a Serbian goddess. Curly golden hair, a body to die for, and a brilliant mind to boot. BT Dubs, can someone please tell me what's in the water over in the Eastern Bloc? Because there's got to be some hot girl farms just growing babes. Seriously, have you seen Pornhub? Canada has timber, Middle East's got the oil, and Serbia's natural resources and unlimited supply of sexually open smoke shows. Where was I? Oh yeah, my golden fleece. It was the kind of thing where I'd look on the schedule, and if she wasn't working, I'd just want to go home. We got along great. I always made her laugh and sweat balls to keep her section immaculate. Let's put a pin in that. At school, I was learning to shoot and edit, and after I got the feel for it doing a couple of simple projects, we were assigned to pair up with classmates to produce a big short, 15 minutes max. I was paired up with Craig. Yep, Craig and Greg. Craig wasn't exactly a Jeopardy contestant in the brains department, but he was a lovable and naive kind of kid and looked up to me like an older brother as I went to college a few years after graduating high school, and I'd always try to impart my wisdom to my protege. Couple of things about Craig. Like me, he's a total perv. This is back in the VHS days, and he had no shame about his MILF and GILF porn collection. Yes, GILF, as in some of the actors remove their false teeth before the oral portion of the plot commences. He was the one in the Dimples karaoke episode who scored that French chick when we were all rolling face and got the entire sesh on video. He's basically Buzz Lightyear. He has no clue what he's doing, but falls with style. Yep, slips in shit and comes up smelling like roses. Lucky prick. Anyways, back to me. It is my podcast. Being a transfer, I lived off campus in an apartment in Allston above the Pizzeria Uno at the intersection of Harvard and Comm Ave. The place was a 4-bedroom shithole that we made worse by throwing keggers every couple of months. We charged a cover in an attempt to make money, but it all ended up going to buy cleaning supplies to turn the place back into what the health department would deem habitable. The apartment had, well, not a balcony, but a really wide ledge that ran along the 2 Harvard Ave side bedrooms. To give you an idea of the width, I once set up seats and a table and treated my girlfriend and I to a candlelit dinner on the restaurant's roof on a summer evening. I know. Fucking Romeo. What does my apartment's architecture and Craig's perverted brain have to do with each other? Wait for it. We threw a Halloween bash. With the length of my hair, build, and moment in film history, I went as Brandon Lee's The Crow and fucking nailed it. My girlfriend went as something hoary. I can't remember the actual costume. I just remember hiking up her glittery purple headband-sized mini and banging her on the roof. In all candor, I think her costume might have actually been sex worker. Isn't it funny? Halloween? Guys have to dress as something funny or something they secretly want to be. So me, an avenging angel superhero, and girls just have to pick a noun and put trampy in front of it, and there's their costume. What are you supposed to be? I'm a cat. No, you're a trampy cat. If you were a cat and you meant it, you would have covered yourself up with one of those mascot situations like you see at Six Flags with the huge head and the mesh hole in the throat you can see out of. You're in a tiny bodysuit with your cleavage showing, little cat ears and whiskers, your horizontal ass crease showing, and fishnets, because all cats wear fishnets, and I want to fuck you so bad, but I have the crow makeup on so you can't see the real me. But I digress. Anyways, hosting these parties was exhausting, and being an off-campus transfer student with a full-time job, the attendees were more friends with my roommates than me, as I had no time to schmooze with classmates. So, inevitably, I'd get socially tired, bored, and since my gorgeous girlfriend was there, we'd retire to my room as the party raged on, lock the door, and get down. No need to socialize, we already had what we wanted right there. Each other. Anyways, on this night, the doing it was extra hot. She was apparently a sex worker and I was a superhero. Role play. We didn't even kiss, as I didn't want to fuck up my makeup, so she just knelt in front of me and unzipped my pants. I'd taken off her top and was caressing her fantastic tits born of Swedish descent, and things were progressing rather quickly. I was in that spot where the beach is pure bliss, and you're torn about whether you want to advance to the beef sleeve or maintain the current situation, when suddenly, Craig crashes through my window and onto my bedroom floor. Oh, and the video camera he was aiming at us from outside slid across the floor into my fireplace. The guy was on the ledge trying to shoot some unauthorized amateur porn through the blinds, featuring me and her, but with a few beers poured into his already clumsy vessel, one eye shut and one against the viewfinder in the black of night, that gangly oaf became disoriented and fell forward into the window's screen, which gave way, and that peeping sack of potatoes bounced off the hardwood floor, giggling his ass off. My initial instinct was to cover my girlfriend's ample tits, as those were for me to see. I mean, come on, the dinner on the ledge balcony thing? Candles? My tits. My second thought was to attack the intruder. This fucking clown needed to be checked and receive a beating from his surrogate big brother. My girlfriend was freaked out, and I was pissed at this literal invasion of privacy. Then I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and suddenly everything stopped. My girlfriend was still kneeling, covering her tits with that handkerchief of a top. I was cinching up my fly, and Craig was getting his sea legs under him when he suddenly blurted, "Oh my God, I just saw the crow getting a blowjob." We all started dying, because yeah, he must have been just as shocked as we were. There's something you don't see every day, you know what I mean? Fucking Halloween, you guys. It always gets weird. It's because of that night I no longer dress for it, because if shit gets real, like a fight, a fender bender, or any run-in with the cops, you can't fucking be taken seriously if you're a slutty bumblebee or in drag. So, that's Craig, and he was my partner for our Video 1 final. At the time, Titanic and Pulp Fiction were huge, so I cobbled together a script about a hitman who has to babysit the big boss's hapless nephew whilst on the job. I was to assassinate the big boss's wife's tennis instructor, who was a little too hands-on with his student. I'm thwarted at every turn by the idiotic nephew, so basically it was art imitating life. Some highlights were in the chase sequence, where we followed the instructor back to his Beacon Street home. Craig locks the keys in the car, so logically, we have to get a horse and buggy. Try to picture Vince and Jules in a buggy. Black suits, sunglasses, driver stalled in traffic, staring as we rode by. At one point, Craig stands up and says, "I'm flying, Jack. Jack, I'm flying." To "My Heart Will Go On." We didn't have to pay royalties, so whatever. Then we get stuck in traffic, because as fate would have it, it was actually the running of the Boston Marathon that day. So we had to disembark and hoof it the rest of the way. Thinking on our feet, we asked a cop if we could get a shot of us crossing the finish line. He considered it and fortunately said, "Do it quick." Holy fuck. It was unreal. We got an onlooker to hit record, hopped the barrier at Copley Square, and jogged across the fucking Boston Marathon finish line. No fucking shit. Of course, upon seeing us in suits, no numbers on our backs, fresh as fuck, jogging across the finish line, the entire crowd booed us, and booed us loudly. You never want to piss off a Boston sports fan, but this was a sacrifice we had to make for our art. Or art, as they say in Beantown. We ultimately blow it on the hit, and it all wraps up with Craig coming out of the closet, me running out of town to become a stripper at a gay male review in Sheboygan dressed as a leather daddy. We'd taken care to plant extras throughout dressed as a construction worker, a Native American, a cop, and we all coincidentally met up in Boston Common, and we do a simple dance number at the end. Bollywood, baby. It was called Macho Men. What? Let's see you blend the Village People, Titanic, and Pulp Fiction into a cohesive narrative. It came out great, but our professor told me that while it was well shot and edited, the content was, quote, immature and, quote, where did we think we were going to go with that kind of material? Not a great sign for our final project, which was huge for the semester's overall grade. Well, turns out, Craig's a fucking G. Despite the professorial put-down, Craig entered us into the EVVY Awards. The EVVY Awards are Emerson College's version of the Emmys or the Oscars, and believe me when I say they are absolutely on par with both of those events in both production and scale. No joke. It's a suit and tie formal dress shindig held in the Majestic in Boston's Theater District. It's seriously a super big deal. There are celebrity presenters, remote presenters, sketch roll-ins. It's totally on par with the Oscars, but for budding filmmakers. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The semester was winding down, my girlfriend went back home up north, and I was just waiting for grades to come out while sticking my hand into the slop screen to clear the sink drain of wet cigarette filters and use garnishes nightly to pay the rent, and pining for the Serbian sex goddess Mayana. Grades came out, and I got an A- in Video 1. Turns out our immature content didn't do too much damage to the GPA. Then it happened. We fucking got nominated. Best TV 1 category. We were invited to the fucking Emerson College EVVY Award show. I couldn't believe it. Completely forgot all about the entry. I was elated. I called my mom and she told Dad, and they were overjoyed and they were going to drive into Boston to attend. Win or lose, they didn't care. They just wanted to be there. I was on cloud 9. So much so, I grew a huge pair of steel balls and asked Mayana, who'd been ball and chained to the same guy for 3 years, if she'd like to be on my arm on such a big night. Hey, I said, I know you have a boyfriend, you know I have a girlfriend. She's back home, and I just got nominated for a major award, and I'm in dire need of a gorgeous date, so if that's cool with you and your man, I'd love to be seen with you. Or some flattering shit like that. I don't think it's far off from what I actually said, because it was definitely from the heart. She said she'd love to go. It was an excuse to wear one of those expensive dresses girls buy for a single occasion, then hang it up in plastic for time immemorial. It felt like she wasn't telling me that. It felt like she was telling herself that was the real reason. Anyways, she checked with hubby, and I guess since I was a lowly, non-threatening busboy, he was cool with her being my arm candy. The big night finally arrived. I dressed in my Pulp Fiction butterfly collar suit, Mayana fierce in a gorgeous white number, low cut and tight around her pert ass, giving way to a flowing lower swath of, material? I know, I'm fucking horrible at describing girls' outfits. Point is, she was the most beautiful thing in that theater. Her wide pearly white smile, her hair a halo of golden curls framing her perfect cheekbones and supple neckline. I felt like a movie star. And with all the pomp and circumstance, it was becoming apparent that she felt like she was on a date with a movie star. The whole situation was intoxicating. For the first time, she saw me in my element, nominated for an award for something creative I'd done, not for wiping down tables in black pants wet from the sink's overhead spray gun. People dressed to the nines, famous comics, soap opera stars, and real-life directors and producers milling about in the lobby, theater-goers with programs, all of which had mine and Craig's name splashed across the Video 1 page. It might sound like bullshit, but I could sense the seduction of the environment doing a number on her. The host that year was Opus Moreski, a guy who wore a suit and bow tie to every class. I think he went on to write for Craig Kilborn, Jon Stewart, and/or John Oliver. Just a brilliant comedic mind. Absolutely brilliant. He had a big dig joke about how by the time it was completed, cars would be able to fly, so the whole spend was a waste anyway. Amazing. To give you an idea of its scale, the writer, producer, and voice behind Kermit the Frog and Yoda, Frank Oz, was the first presenter, and I think Maria Menounos, also a 2000 graduate, won for Best Broadcast Journalist that year. Mayana and I sat next to Craig and his date, both sets of parents somewhere else. Mayana and I were leaning against each other, our connection becoming more electric with each passing moment. Then it was time. The Video 1 category. It was presented by some soap star with long braids somewhere between dreadlocks and cornrows. Sorry, all I can remember was Mayana squeezing my thigh, then taking my sweaty hand in her dry one. They announced our nominated short. Then they played a hysterical trailer on the big screen that someone edited together. It got laughs on almost every scene, the crescendo hitting at Craig's horse and buggy Titanic spoof. You could see the drivers and cars in the background staring at us as we passed them, one car hilariously covered in bird shit.